Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. So today's session is on why the window seat is so important in a dementia unit, and indeed it is prized territory. So I'll just explain 1 or 2 examples of this and how it works. Maybe first a not so good example of how it works and other positive examples. So because the window seat is so prized, sometimes there are residents, aggressive residents, who want to dominate the territory. And in the last unit I worked at, there was a case of this indeed, of a woman, strong, stocky, aggressive, had little support in her life. And she would dominate the 2 window seats, 2 out of 8 window seats. So there were 4 window alcoves where the sun shone in. You know, that's why it was so prized. 4 window seats and 2 seats in each. So 8 in total for 30 residents. Anyway, she used to dominate 2, which meant there was only 6 left for everyone else. Very unfair. Anyway, when another resident would attempt to sit beside her to get the sun, if it was a beautiful day, she'd just lash out at them. Terrible. Handbag, walking stick, you know, whatever. Really bad. And there was only 1 other resident who was strong enough to stand up to her. She was a strong, powerful woman. And this aggressor actually respected her and let her sit there because of it. But she was the only one that was allowed to. And staff tried to stop all this, but it was pretty much impossible, you know. She'd be at it again whenever the staff left, so not good. Anyway, finally, she did leave the unit, thankfully, but there was about 6 months of this carry on. Okay, so that's what, you know, we don't want to happen. And if you're in the position with your mother and you can see this going on, just when you leave the unit, or when you're at the unit as well, when you're visiting her, just get a window seat, try and get a window seat further along from any aggressor, or even in the second lounge if there is one. There's often a second lounge where there'll be maybe 1, 2 window seats if you're lucky. Sit there away from, you know, this other woman. And when you leave the unit, you know, try and get a good seat for your mother when you leave the unit after a visit, a sunny window seat being the best, otherwise with her good friend even better, or at least by her good friend near the TV if there's something nice going on. Just work all that out, because, you know, the worst thing is leaving your mother back in some far corner in the second lounge, no friends, no sun, no view after you've left, and it's just a really bereft feeling for them, you know, that have this beautiful visit with you and then, oh, they're sort of dumped, you know, sort of, it's a slumping feeling. So make sure to have her, you know, walk her over, Mum, I'm going to go now. We're going to get you a nice seat by the window if we can, and see if your friend can come over and sit with you, and just spy all that out and drag over a chair if you need to and adjust it accordingly. Anyway, back to the window seat. Okay, so actually, when I first realised, I mean, we all know that sunny window seats are prime territory, but when this really struck me as to how important it is in a dementia unit, was actually the 3rd year that I'd worked at this particular unit. It took, for the first year, as I've mentioned in some of the past videos, for the first year at this particular unit, the people were very shut down and shut off, both from themselves and each other. And it took, you know, a full year to get any level of concentration going. Reading helping a lot with that. So that was the first year. 2nd year, not much movement. 3rd year, not much movement, except the workshops were going well. But the problem was that I realised that unless the group started to initiate conversation amongst themselves independently, the community wouldn't get established. They were good at not initiating, but having conversation in the group when the workshops were on, when I was facilitating. But outside that, they weren't initiating conversation amongst themselves. And I was becoming quite concerned as to whether it would ever happen. And it took 2 years, do you know, 2 years after the concentration and reading was established, 2 more years. And I walked into work, and one of the farmers, a lovely man, big strong man, he'd brought over 3 big heavy chairs. He'd dragged them over to the window seat, and I walked in. There they were, the 3 residents, having a nice little chat in the sun in the morning after breakfast. Rays of sun coming in, them with their cup of tea, having a little tete-a-tete. That was the first instance of communication initiated independently with themselves as a little group. And I knew from that point, I knew that things would go from strength to strength, which they did. But it was the window seat that... It was a sunny morning, it was blue sky, it was beautiful view outside with the garden and the hills and the birds, and of course this all added to the ambience. So whatever the conversation is, I don't know, but I did see them talking. And after that, one lot of role modelling. Everyone wanted to be at the window, everyone wanted to have a seat, cup of tea and a chat with their friend, and intermingling happened quite quickly after that. So that's how the window seat played a pivotal role in getting the communication happening. And from there, I realised how important it was. So any opportunity where you can encourage, where you can be at the window seat with your mother, or father, it's so valuable. Like quite a number of the residents enjoy feeding the sparrows, feeding the sparrows outside the window because, in New Zealand anyway, we have lots of beautiful trees and birds and, things going on in the villages, thankfully. I don't know how much it's like that overseas, but there's generally quite a few little sparrows flying around, and they just place little, even though the windows only open that much, there's often a little ledge coming out of it, and so they just put the breadcrumbs there, so the little sparrows can fly in the morning. And some of them even have a sparrow that comes regularly to visit them. And they get so much happiness from that, like genuine happiness. It's a big topic of conversation, the sparrow at the window. So that's another example of why the window seat's important. Another example is that, the weather. There was one lady who... she was a school teacher, and she used to have the same seat pretty much in the lounge by the TV, and she could see the hills in the distance. Only a little, half the window was blocked by a big barbecue, which was, hardly ever got used. I don't know why it was, it couldn't be moved because the veranda was so small, there was nowhere to put it. But anyway, she had this little view of the hills, quarter of a window's worth. And each morning she'd say, well, she'd give the weather forecast. Well, it is drizzling. It is drizzling. The drizzle, like rain, is becoming heavier. The grey clouds, yes, I can see the grey clouds. They're coming. Anyway, this commentary of weather happenings she'd do every single morning, and none of the residents complained. No, they didn't complain because the window is the outside-in experience for them. Just like David Attenborough is for the natural world for them, the outside-in, the window brings everything outside in. When their relative is leaving the unit, and by the way, put them by the window seat, your mother, to be able to say goodbye to you, from the window seat. Often there's a window seat where you can see the car leaving, and that is prime. Very, very pivotal point of departure. So if you can leave your mother in the window seat and she can wave goodbye to you as you go off in the car, you wave back. Oh yes, that's very, very connecting, and will save a lot of grief at the door as to why you're going. If you can say, just sit here, mum, and I'll be saying goodbye to you, just wave out. Very good technique, that one. Okay, so look at all that. There's tons of stuff that happens. I've only said half of it. Tons of stuff that happens at the window seat in a dementia unit. So just remember that to, have conversations there, bring your mother there, make the use of them. as much as you can, especially on a sunny day. So that's up, time's up. Thank you for your subscriptions and likes and support. Thank you.